The gunshot shattered the silence of the Seoul Metropolitan Theater, sending the opening night audience into screaming chaos. Zendaya Adami didn't flinch. She stood center stage in her crimson gown, spotlight blazing down on her dark skin like liquid gold, her eyes locked on the figure emerging from the back of the theater. The man moved through the panic like smoke through air, his black suit immaculate, traditional Korean dragon tattoos crawling up his neck and disappearing beneath his collar. His face was carved from ice and fury, and when their eyes met across the pandemonium, Zendaya felt her world tilt on its axis. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not here. Not now. Not to her. Before we dive into how Zendaya ended up in this impossible situation, do me a quick favor. Smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss the next part of this story. Trust me, you're going to want to see how this ends. And if you're already hooked, drop a fire emoji in the comments right now. Let's get into it. 3 months earlier, Zendaya had been untouchable. At 26, she'd climbed from obscurity to become Korea's most unexpected sensation, a Nigerian Korean actress who'd shattered every stereotype the industry threw at her. Her mother, a Lagos-born diplomat, had married a Korean businessman, giving Zendaya dual citizenship and a childhood split between two worlds. She spoke flawless Korean with a melodic accent that made directors weak, and her presence on screen was magnetic. Her latest drama, Seoul Sunrise, had broken viewership records, and she was fielding offers from every major production company in Asia. Life was a champagne dream, and she was drunk on success. The call came on a Tuesday. Her manager, Min-jun, burst into her dressing room at SBS Studios, his face pale as rice paper. "We need to talk, now." His voice trembled in a way she'd never heard before. Zendaya set down her script, her heart beginning a slow, ominous drumbeat. "What happened?" "Your father." Min-jun closed the door, locked it. "Zendaya, he's in trouble, deep trouble." Her father, Choi Di-hyun, had always been a mystery wrapped in expensive suits and vague explanations. Import-export, he'd said. Business dealings. She'd never pressed, never wanted to know. Now, watching Min-jun's hands shake as he pulled out his phone, she realized her willful ignorance was about to cost her everything. He borrowed money, a lot of money, from the wrong people. Min-jun showed her a photo. A man with eyes like black holes and tattoos that seemed to move in the dim light. "This is Kang Taemin. He runs the Biko family. They control half of Seoul's underground, and your father owes them 5 billion won." Zendaya's knees went weak. 5 billion won, roughly $4 million. That's impossible. Failed investments, bad deals. Your father gambled everything trying to expand, and now, Min-jun's voice cracked. Taemin gave him 30 days to pay. That was 29 days ago. "We'll figure something out. We'll liquidate assets, take out loans, They don't want money anymore." Min-jun's next words came out like broken glass. "They want you." The world stopped spinning. Outside her dressing room, she could hear the sounds of the studio, life continuing as if reality hadn't just split open. "What do you mean they want me?" "Taemin saw you. In your drama. He's obsessed, Zendaya. He told your father he'd forgive the entire debt if you marry him. If you refuse." Min-jun couldn't finish the sentence, but he didn't need to. They both knew what happened to people who crossed the Biko family. Zendaya stood, packing the small room like a caged leopard. "This is insane. We're not living in the Joseon dynasty. I can go to the police, get protection. I'm a public figure. They can't just." "The police won't help." A new voice cut through her protests. Zendaya spun to find her father standing in the doorway, and the sight of him broke something inside her. He'd aged a decade in the weeks since she'd last seen him. His eyes were hollow, his shoulders slumped under the weight of his failures. "I'm sorry, daughter, I'm so sorry." "Appa," the word came out strangled. "How could you?" "I thought I could fix it. I thought I had more time. But Taemin," her father's voice broke. "He's not like other men in his world. He's calculated, patient, dangerous in ways that don't show until it's too late, and he's decided he wants you." Zendaya felt tears burning behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "And if I say no, if I run?" Her father's silence was answer enough. "They'll kill you," Min-jun said quietly. "And probably your mother. and anyone who tries to help you. The Biko family doesn't make idle threats, Zendaya. They make examples. The meeting happened 3 days later at a restaurant that didn't exist on any map. Zendaya wore all black, her natural curls pulled into a tight bun, her face a mask of cold fury. Her father had arranged everything, his hands shaking as he'd written down the address. Her mother didn't know. Couldn't know. Some burdens were too heavy to share. The restaurant was empty except for 5 men at a corner table. 4 were clearly soldiers, broad-shouldered and alert, their jackets bulging with concealed weapons. But it was the 5th man who commanded the space. Kang Taemin sat with the casual confidence of someone who'd never been told no in his life. He was younger than she'd expected, maybe 30, with sharp features that would have been beautiful if not for the coldness in his eyes. His tattoos were works of art, traditional Korean imagery mixed with modern designs that crawled up his hands and disappeared beneath his black dress shirt. When he saw her, something flickered across his face. Hunger, possession, victory. Miss Ademi. His voice was smooth as aged whiskey, his Korean perfect and precise. Thank you for coming. Please sit. Zendaya remained standing. Let's skip the pleasantries. You want to blackmail me into marriage because my father made stupid decisions. State your terms so I can tell you exactly where to shove them. One of the soldiers moved, but Taemin stopped him with a subtle gesture. His lips curved into something that might have been a smile if smiles could cut. I like you already. They said you had fire. I'm glad the rumors were true. I'm not interested in what you like. No, I suppose not. Taemin gestured to the chair across from him. But you are interested in keeping your parents alive, so sit, please. The please was somehow more threatening than any outright command. Zendaya sat. Taemin poured tea with elegant precision, his tattooed hands steady and practiced. Your father owes me a debt he cannot repay. This is fact. In my world, such debts are paid in blood. Also fact. However, I am not without mercy. I'm offering an alternative. Marriage, the word tasted like poison. A contract, 3 years. You play the role of devoted wife, attend events with me, live in my home. In exchange, your father's debt is erased and your family remains safe. After 3 years, if you wish to leave, you're free to go. Divorce, annulment, whatever you prefer. And if I refuse? Taemin's eyes went flat. Then I collect my debt the traditional way. Your father dies. Slowly, your mother follows. And you? He leaned forward, his voice dropping to a whisper. You watch, then you disappear. Korea will mourn their rising star and life goes on. Zendaya's hands clenched beneath the table, her nails digging crescents into her palms. Why me? You could have any woman. Why force someone who hates you? For the first time, something genuine flickered across Taemin's face. Because you're real. Everyone in my world wears masks, plays games, lies with every breath. But you stand on stage and bare your soul to millions. You're fearless, genuine. And when I saw you, he paused, his jaw tightening. I decided you were mine. I'm not a possession. In my world, everything is a possession, including me. He stood, buttoning his jacket. I'll give you 48 hours to decide. But understand this, Zendaya Ademi. I always get what I want. The only question is how much it will cost. The next 2 days were hell. Zendaya consulted lawyers who went pale when she mentioned the Biko family. She called contacts in law enforcement who suddenly had urgent business elsewhere. She even considered fleeing the country, but her manager reminded her of what happened to the last person who tried to run from Taemin. They'd found him in Busan, missing 3 fingers and begging to make amends. On the 47th hour, Zendaya sat in her apartment overlooking the Han River, watching the city lights reflect off the water like fallen stars. Her phone buzzed with messages from fans, directors, co-stars, all oblivious to the choice tearing her apart. She thought about her mother, who'd given up everything to build a life in Korea. Her father, broken and desperate, the career she'd fought so hard to build. When the 48th hour arrived, she called the number Taemin had left. I'll do it, she said when he answered, but I have conditions. Name them. My career continues. I don't stop acting. I don't disappear from public life. Agreed. My parents are protected. not just physically, financially. You stabilize my father's legitimate businesses. Done. And I want it in writing. A real contract, legally binding, that says in 3 years I walk away free and clear. There was a long pause. Then, you'll have it by morning. The wedding is in 2 weeks. 2 weeks? That's impossible. The media, my schedule, I can't just. 2 weeks, Zendaya, or I change my mind about being generous. He hung up. The wedding was a nightmare dressed in silk and lies. Taemin's people had arranged everything, spinning a story for the media about a whirlwind romance kept secret from the public. The wedding was private, meaning only Taemin's associates and Zendaya's immediate family attended. Her mother cried through the entire ceremony, not knowing whether they were tears of joy or sorrow. Her father couldn't meet her eyes. Zendaya wore a traditional hanbok in white and gold, her dark skin luminous against the pale silk. Taemin wore a tailored suit with subtle dragon embroidery, his tattoos visible at his collar and wrists. When he took her hands during the ceremony, his grip was firm but not cruel. When he kissed her, it was brief and almost gentle. But his eyes promised things she wasn't ready to face. The reception was surreal. Taemin's world revealed itself in glimpses, men who spoke in code, women with diamonds and cold smiles. Everyone treated her with careful respect, but she could feel their assessment, their calculation of her worth to their boss. She smiled and played her part, the radiant bride, while inside she was screaming. "You're doing well," Taemin murmured during their required first dance. His hand at her waist was possessive, his other hand holding hers with surprising gentleness. "I know this isn't what you wanted." "You have no idea what I want." "Then tell me. We have 3 years. We might as well be honest with each other." She met his eyes, seeing her reflection in those dark depths. "I want my life back. I want to rewind 6 months and warn my father before he destroyed everything. I want to wake up and discover this was all a nightmare." Something flickered across his face. Regret, empathy, it was gone too quickly to identify. "I can't give you the past, but the future. Perhaps we can negotiate." "There's nothing to negotiate. You own me for 3 years. Let's not pretend this is anything else." His jaw tightened, but he said nothing more. They danced in silence while cameras flashed and their guests watched the performance. Moving into Taemin's home was like entering another world. The penthouse occupied the top 3 floors of a building in Gangnam, all glass and steel in spaces so vast she felt swallowed. Her belongings looked pathetic in the enormous bedroom she was given, right next to his own. The first night, she lay awake, listening for sounds from the adjoining room, her body tense with expectation. But Taemin never came. The door between their rooms remained closed. The next morning, she found him in the kitchen, cooking breakfast. The sight was so incongruous that she stopped in the doorway, staring. Kang Taemin, mob boss and her new husband, stood over a stove in silk pajama pants and nothing else, his tattooed back a canvas of dragons and tigers that seemed to move in the morning light. "You cook?" The question escaped before she could stop it. He glanced over his shoulder, something like amusement in his eyes. "I do many things that would surprise you. Sit. You need to eat before your drama filming." "How did you know I have filming?" "I know everything about you, Zendaya. It's my job." He plated eggs and rice with practiced efficiency. "Your call time is 9 a.m. I've assigned a driver and 2 security guards. They'll be discreet." She sat at the massive kitchen island, too tired to argue. "I don't need guards." "You're my wife now. That makes you a target. You need guards." He set the plate before her, then poured coffee. "Eat." The food was good. Perfectly seasoned, carefully prepared. It made her irrationally angry. "Why are you doing this?" "Feeding you." Playing house, pretending this is normal. Taemin sat across from her with his own plate, his eyes never leaving her face. "Because we have 3 years, and I see no reason to make them more miserable than necessary. I'm not a monster, despite what you think. You forced me into marriage. I gave you a choice between marriage and death. Most people would choose marriage. That's not a choice, that's coercion. In my world, it's survival." He ate in silence for a moment, then added, "I won't touch you, not unless you ask. You have your room, your space, your life. I require only that you play the role in public. What happens in private is up to you." Zendaya studied him, trying to understand the man behind the tattoos and threats. "Why did you really choose me?" "The truth." Taemin set down his chopsticks, his expression unreadable. "Because when I watched you on screen, I saw someone who refused to be anything but herself. In a world of masks, you were brave enough to show your real face. And I thought—" He paused, seeming to struggle with the words. "I thought maybe being around someone like that might remind me what it's like to be human." The confession hung between them, raw and unexpected. Before Zendaya could respond, his phone buzzed. The moment shattered. Taemin's face closed off, returning to the cold mask she was beginning to recognize. He answered in rapid Korean, his tone sharp. Whatever the news was, it wasn't good. "I have to go," he said, already standing. "There's an issue that requires my attention. If you need anything, my assistant June will handle it. His number is in your phone." "What kind of issue?" He paused at the door, his back to her. "The kind that reminds people why they don't cross the Biko family. Don't worry about it. Just focus on your filming." Then he was gone, and Zendaya was alone in a prison made of marble and glass. The next months were a bizarre dance of two lives. During the day, Zendaya was Korea's darling, filming her drama and attending promotional events. The media had accepted the marriage story, painting it as a fairy tale romance. Drama star's secret wedding dominated headlines, and her popularity somehow increased. Fans loved the mystery, the romance, the idea of their favorite actress finding love. If only they knew the truth. At night, she returned to the penthouse to find Taemin in various states of his double life. Sometimes he was the careful host, making dinner and asking about her day. Sometimes he was covered in blood that he swore wasn't his, disappearing into his room without a word. Sometimes he wasn't there at all, gone for days on business he never explained. They developed routines, breakfast together when possible, coordinating schedules, public appearances where they played the devoted couple. Taemin was surprisingly good at it, his hand at her back both possessive and protective, his smiles for her containing a warmth that almost seemed genuine. Almost. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're just getting started with Zendaya and Taemin's complicated journey, and trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. 3 months into the marriage, Zendaya was getting ready for a movie premiere when Taemin entered her room without knocking. She spun from her mirror, instinctively covering herself even though she was fully dressed in an evening gown. "We need to talk," he said, his voice tight with something she couldn't identify. "Can it wait? I have a red carpet in 2 hours." "No." He held out his phone, showing her a photo that made her blood run cold. It was her mother, leaving a cafe in Itaewon. The photo was marked with a red X. Someone is sending a message. They're targeting my weakness. "I'm not your weakness." "You are now." He pocketed the phone, his jaw working. "There's a faction within the organization that disagrees with my methods. They see our marriage as a sign of softness. They're wrong, but they need to be corrected." "What does that mean?" "It means you're in danger, real danger, not the theoretical kind, but the bullets and kidnapping kind." He moved closer, his intensity almost physical. "I need to increase your security, you won't like it." "I already don't like any of this." "It will get worse before it gets better. Trust me." "Trust you," Zendaya laughed, the sound bitter. "You've given me no reason to trust you." Something cracked in his expression. "I've kept every promise I've made to you. Your parents are safe. Your career continues. I've stayed out of your bed and out of your way. What more do you want from me?" "My freedom." "I can't give you that, not yet, but I can keep you alive." He pulled out a small black box from his pocket, opening it to reveal a ring. Not a wedding band, but something else. A panic button disguised as jewelry. "Wear this, always. If anything happens, if anyone threatens you, you press the stone and I'll find you, no matter where you are." Zendaya stared at the ring, then at him. "You're serious. Someone really wants to hurt me." "Someone really wants to hurt me. You're just the easiest way to do it." He took her hand, his touch surprisingly gentle, and slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. I won't let that happen. Whatever else you think of me, believe that. The premiere was a disaster. Zendaya couldn't focus on the cameras or the interviews. She kept scanning the crowd for threats, her hand unconsciously touching the ring. Taemin had insisted on attending, playing the devoted husband to perfection. But she could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his eyes constantly tracked the exits and the people moving around them. "Smile," he murmured as they posed for photos. "You look terrified." "I am terrified." "Good, fear keeps you sharp." His arm tightened around her waist. "But don't let them see it. Never let them see weakness." After the premiere, instead of going to the after-party, Taemin guided her to his car. His driver, a stoic man named D, navigated through Seoul's streets with practiced efficiency. They didn't head home. Instead, they drove to a warehouse in a district Zendaya didn't recognize. "Where are we going?" she demanded as Taemin led her inside. "Somewhere safe, somewhere I can show you the truth." The warehouse was a front. Behind a false wall was a command center, screens monitoring locations all over the city. Men worked at computers, others cleaned weapons, all of them stopping to bow when Taemin entered. He led her to a private office overlooking the main floor. "This is who I am," he said, gesturing to the organized chaos below. "The Biko family isn't just criminals, Zendaya. We're a network. We protect our territory, our people, our interests. Yes, we break laws, but we also keep order. We provide services the government can't or won't. And right now, someone is trying to take all of this from me." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you're part of it now. Whether you like it or not, marrying me made you a player in this world, and players need to understand the game." He pulled up security footage on his computer. "This is Kim Sang-woo. He's second in command of a rival faction. He thinks I've gone soft, that taking a wife, especially a foreign actress, makes me weak. He's wrong, but he won't believe that until I make him." The man on screen was older, harder, with scars that told stories of violence survived. Zendaya felt sick. "What are you going to do?" "What I have to do, but first I need to make sure you're protected. That's why we're here. I'm going to teach you how to survive." "I don't want to learn how to survive your world. I want out of it." Taemin's expression softened just a fraction. 2 years and 9 months. That's all that's left of our contract, but those months mean nothing if you're dead. So you're going to learn, starting now. The next weeks were surreal. By day, Zendaya filmed her drama, smiling for cameras and pretending her life was normal. By night, Taemin's people taught her self-defense, situational awareness, emergency protocols. She learned to recognize threats, to map exits, to move through crowds with purpose. She hated how quickly it became second nature. Taemin was there for most of it, watching with an intensity that made her skin prickle. Sometimes he joined the training, showing her moves himself, his body close to hers, his hands guiding her into positions that were simultaneously protective and intimate. "You're a fast learner," he said one night after she'd successfully escaped a hold. They were both sweating, breathing hard, alone in the training room. "Natural fighter." "I had to be. Korea isn't always kind to people who look like me. I learned early how to stand my ground." Something crossed his face. Understanding, maybe. "I know what that's like, being the outsider. My father was Yakuza, Japanese organized crime. When he died, I had to fight twice as hard to prove I belonged in a Korean organization. The tattoos helped. Traditional Korean imagery, claiming this culture as mine. But it was never easy." It was the most personal thing he'd ever shared. Zendaya found herself curious despite herself. "Is that why you chose me? Because you saw a kindred spirit?" "Maybe." He moved closer, his eyes searching hers. "Or maybe I just saw someone worth fighting for." The moment stretched, electric and dangerous. For the first time, Zendaya felt the pull of something beyond fear and resentment. Taemin was a monster, yes. But he was also a man who cooked her breakfast, who protected her family, who looked at her like she was the only real thing in his carefully constructed world. She stepped back, breaking the spell. Don't make this more complicated than it already is." "It's already complicated. Might as well acknowledge it." "No," she grabbed her jacket, suddenly needing distance. "You don't get to do this. You don't get to force me into marriage and then expect me to develop real feelings. That's not how this works. Isn't it? He didn't move to stop her, but his voice followed. We're spending every day together, learning each other, building something whether we want to or not. You can deny it all you want, Zendaya, but it's happening. She left without responding, her heart hammering and her mind in chaos. The attack came 2 weeks later. Zendaya was leaving the SBS studio after a long filming day, tired and distracted. Her guards were there, vigilant but not expecting trouble in broad daylight. That was their mistake. The van came out of nowhere, screeching to a stop between her car and the studio entrance. Men poured out, armed and moving with military precision. Her guards reacted, drawing weapons, but they were outnumbered. Zendaya ran, her training kicking in, looking for cover, for exits, for anything. Hands grabbed her, rough and bruising. She fought, using every technique Taemin's people had taught her, but there were too many. A cloth pressed over her mouth and nose, chemical-sweet and suffocating. The world went dark. She woke in a concrete room, her head pounding and her wrists zip-tied to a metal chair. The space was industrial, empty except for her and the men standing guard. One of them noticed she was awake and made a call. She's up, boss. Yeah, no problems. The husband's people are going crazy, just like you said. Kim Sang-woo entered 5 minutes later, his scarred face twisted into something approximating a smile. Mrs. Kang, so nice of you to join us. Go to hell, Zendaya spat, her mouth dry and tasting of chemicals. Eventually, but first, we're going to send your husband a message. You see, Taemin has forgotten his place. He's playing at being respectable, marrying actresses, attending galas. He's forgotten that we're wolves, not lapdogs, and wolves need to remember their nature. He pulled out a phone, setting it on a tripod aimed at her. We're going to make a video. You're going to beg him to give up his position. And if he doesn't, he pulled out a knife, the blade catching the dim light. Well, we'll start sending you back to him in pieces. Fear turned to ice in Zendaya's veins, but underneath it, something else. Fury. These men had taken her against her will, just like Taemin had. But at least Taemin had given her a choice, however impossible. These men offered only violence. He won't negotiate with you, she said, keeping her voice steady. You've already lost. Kim laughed. Has he corrupted you so thoroughly, made you loyal to him? I'm not loyal to him, but I know him, and I know what he'll do to you for this. The words had barely left her mouth when the lights went out. The room plunged into darkness, followed immediately by gunshots and screaming. Zendaya threw herself sideways, chair and all, hitting the concrete hard but getting out of the line of fire. More shots, closer now. Someone fell near her, their final breath hot against her face. Then light blinding and stark, flashlights cutting through smoke and chaos. And in the center of it all, Taemin. His face was a mask of cold fury, his gun still raised, his clothes splattered with blood. Behind him, his men secured the space with brutal efficiency. He was at her side in seconds. Cutting her restraints with a knife he pulled from God knows where. Did they hurt you? I'm fine, Taemin, I'm fine. He didn't look convinced. His hands ran over her arms, her face, checking for injuries with a gentleness that contrasted sharply with the violence he'd just committed. We need to get you out of here. What about him, Kim? Taemin's expression went arctic. He'll be handled. Right now, you're my priority. He lifted her, carrying her through the warehouse over her protests. She caught glimpses of the aftermath, bodies, blood, men who wouldn't be threatening anyone again. Kim Sang-woo was on his knees, surrounded by Taemin's people, his face already a mask of bruises. Taemin, Kim called out, this isn't over. The organization won't accept. The organization will accept what I tell them to accept. Taemin didn't even slow down. You made a mistake, Sang-woo. You touched what's mine. There's no coming back from that. Outside, the night air was cold and clean. Taemin set her in his car, then got in beside her. Dee drove without being told, navigating away from the scene with practiced calm. Taemin stared straight ahead, his jaw working, his hands clenched into fists. I should have been there, he said finally. I should have anticipated this. You couldn't have known. It's my job to know. He turned to her, and she saw something she'd never expected in his eyes. Fear. When June called when he said you'd been taken, I've never felt anything like that. Pure terror, the thought of losing you. You barely know me. I know enough. I know you take your coffee with too much sugar and no cream. I know you hum when you're nervous. I know you video call your mother every Sunday and lie about how happy you are. I know you cry in the shower when you think no one can hear. I know you, Zendaya. And losing you would destroy something in me I didn't know could still break. The confession hung between them, raw and honest. Zendaya felt tears burning behind her eyes, her carefully maintained walls cracking. I hate you for what you did to me, for trapping me in this life. I know. But you also saved me today. You came for me. Always, I will always come for you. She didn't know who moved first. Maybe both of them simultaneously, drawn together by the gravity of what they'd survived. His lips met hers, desperate and fierce, and she kissed him back with equal intensity. All the fear, the anger, the confusion of the past months poured into that kiss. His hands tangled in her hair, hers gripped his shirt, pulling him closer. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, something fundamental had shifted between them. This doesn't change anything, Zendaya whispered. I still want my freedom. I know, but maybe. He cupped her face, his thumb brushing her cheek. Maybe we can redefine what freedom means. The aftermath of the kidnapping would change everything, but neither of them could predict just how much their world was about to explode. And that's where we're stopping part 1. I know, you need to know what happens next. Well, part 2 is already up, and things are about to get even more intense. But before you click over, leave a comment telling me, do you think Zendaya should stay with Taemin or run while she has the chance? Team stay or team leave? And if this story has you on the edge of your seat, hit that like button and share this with someone who loves dramatic romance. Part 2 is waiting for you. Click the link in the description or the card appearing right now. Don't leave Zendaya hanging. Let's go.